All right, guys, welcome back to the Big Matt Podcast channel. We got another big story, part 2, coming in for you right here. We're talking about DARPA and the technology. And in part 1 there, we watched all about these things. We watched about the internet and how it kind of come about, new technologies, these real techno-style type added-on skeletal robots that the military is working on, that type of stuff. I can't wait to get in this second part. Let's just get over in here right now and let me throw it up here on the screen. And we'll get in here and we'll talk about it some more, okay? Thank you again for coming by and hanging out. Part 2. Let's finish this up. It's good.
DARPA started working on robotics in the 1960s. Its first project was Shaky, the first mobile robot to reason about its actions. Shaky wasn't sleek or fast, but it was a start.
I feel like if you name your project
In the early 2000s, DARPA launched the Big Dog program. In partnership with Boston Dynamics, these four-legged robots can carry heavy loads and navigate difficult terrain. They can also be outfitted with weapons like sniper rifles or machine guns. The LS-3 can follow soldiers autonomously and carry up to 400 pounds of gear. And then there's the Atlas robot. And now we're getting serious. Atlas was launched in 2013, and you've probably seen various versions of this robot over the years. Atlas could run, jump, and navigate obstacle courses. A couple of years ago, Atlas used AI to teach itself how to walk, and then run, and then do gymnastics.
Okay. You're talking about doing one thing or not, but being able to do teaching yourself how to run. Good God, man. I mean, it's just endless, I guess. I guess it's just endless of what we're going to see.
Some of us realize it. Investigative journalist Annie Jacobson has covered DARPA for years. She says there's no doubt that the Pentagon is investing heavily in robotics.
DARPA's plan through 2038 states without question that the Pentagon is moving towards robotic warfare. They want to have hunter-killer drones that can swim, crawl, walk, run. Drones that can fly 13,000 miles an hour, which is 22 times faster than a commercial jet, to get to a target really quickly.
Ballistic missiles have limitations. Speeds over Mach 20 require too much power and make the rockets dangerously hot. But thanks to DARPA, that's no longer a problem. Missiles can now travel at hypersonic speed without overheating. A target 500 miles away can be destroyed in 6 minutes. Weapons like these certainly keep humans off the battlefield, but DARPA's going to take it one step further. It's creating the technology to wage war without needing humans at all.
That is a good idea. Okay, I mean, we talked about this a while ago with the nanotechnology and that type of stuff. It is a good idea, and anytime you can keep humans safe, and out of harm's way, that is a great idea. Of course, I mean, who's not for that? Who out there would not be for? If you have sons and daughters in the military, and I come from a military family, Air Force, Marines, Army. I don't think I had any Navy people. Yes, my great uncles. He was on the Ulysses S. James. Got sunk like twice. Well, how he made it. Then he nearly got sunk in a submarine still. That's great. And that's another story. So, yeah, I mean, gosh, man, if we'd had this, it just saves millions, hundreds of thousands of lives. When you can put people they could be in a whole nother country. They don't even have to be in the same darn continent. That's how crazy this is. They could be in a completely another continent. Let's continue on here. This other part here we're going to get into is robots is talking about. Yep. Learning computers, that type of stuff. This is going to be interesting. So hang on. Yep. Let's just hit the play button here and let's get back into it.
Maybe more. Well, as early as the 1960s, DARPA started developing computers that can learn independently. In the 1980s, DARPA launched the Strategic Computing Initiative, or SCI. The goal of SCI was to create military strategies by running simulations and learning from them.
You're describing war games.
Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. I'm sure most people, again, most people seen this movie. I mean, I watched it with my son when he was young. It's a great movie. It's a good movie. And there's some truth to it. And the movie took a different turn based on technology and things that they were working on. Because this movie came out in the 80s. Okay. So again, they started this stuff. Did you hear what he said? In the 60s. 60s. We're talking about at that time they're working on this before Vietnam. This is after Korea. Okay.
Originally going to be a science fiction story about a dying scientist who's saved by a kid genius. But then the writers met Peter Schwartz from the Stanford Research Institute, or SRI.
Yes, all right. I know those guys.
You do. SRI has been the launch pad for many secret government programs. I've talked about them a lot on this channel, and they've long been connected to the CIA, NSA, and DARPA. Well, Schwartz was fascinated by a new computer subculture called hackers. He suggested that they make a movie about a kid hacking a military supercomputer.
Oh, yeah. What was it? It was called the Big Mac.
No, Whopper. War.
Well, the Whopper spends all its time thinking about World War III. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
At the very same time that this movie came out, DARPA was working on its own military supercomputer. Here's how they described it.
The machine envisioned by SC would run 10 billion instructions per second to C.
Okay. Sorry, I skipped through a little bit. I know what parts I can kind of skip through. You're not missing nothing. But you can go back and watch the whole thing. I'll put the link in the comments. I don't want to get copyright. I don't want to get hit for copyrighted I know I'm doing a reaction to video, and it would be silly for them to knock me down because I'm literally just talking about what they're talking about. It is through Section 107 is legal. It's not like I don't want to make any money on this. I'm just sharing some cool info I think is interesting. But how many second? What did he say? Let's back that up.
The machine envisioned by SC would run 10 billion instructions per second.
10 billion instructions a second. Think about that. 10 billion instructions a second. Okay.
To see, hear, speak, and think like a human. The degree of integration required would rival that achieved by the human brain, the most complex instrument known to man.
If you haven't caught on by now, we're talking about artificial intelligence. Today, AI is everywhere and accessible to everyone. And it feels like it came out of nowhere, but it didn't. It came out of DARPA. As of today, 70% of DARPA's projects use or are focused on AI and machine learning. DARPA started working on AI in the 1960s.
There's that year again. 1960s. Maybe I need to do an in-depth study on. I'm curious now. This is how I get in rabbit holes. Do y'all ever do that? I get in these rabbit holes. What? Who was over this DARPA? Oh, you can pause the video right now and pick your phone up and just type it in and pick who's the head scientist? Who's these engineers? Yeah, we know about von Braun, and there's a new movie out. You can see it over on Peacock. I need to watch that. Oppenheimer. I know the story. I read the book. I've studied it 2 or 3 different times. I wonder who's running all this. Because if some of those old guys that they had, if they had to be in their 50s and the 40s, so 30 more years later, they would be probably like, that's something good to know. Like, when did some of those guys like von Braun's and when did they die? I mean, are those people, who's part of this? Who is the people right over here, right here on this? Who are these people? Who is this DARPA? What is going on with these? It's crazy.
They built their first AI system, a speech recognition computer, in the 1970s. In 1983, the Strategic Computing Initiative Project received billions for AI research. Then in the 1990s, DARPA launched another supercomputing project. It was, and still is, highly secret. It's affecting you right now. And once I tell you what it is, you're not going to like it.
Now, what would you think it is? We probably have a pretty good guess. It's talking about AI, stuff like that. Just, yeah. Go, yeah.
If I'm not on a list by now, I'm about to be.
No, they're watching you, human.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk about this. Here we go.
I mean, the people that hold all the information about everything is the people that are gonna search this video later when I publish it for copyrights and and they could pick up on the word because I've said it a few times, and they could block this video. I may be doing all this for nothing. It may not even get put out. I don't know. I did do one about The View one time, the crazy women TV show. And I did a live spot, and I just took out Jonathan, the actor from The Chosen. It's like a 5-minute spot and just talking about what he was talking about with them. During the live video, they shut me down. Seriously, and I had like 10 subscribers then. I mean, that was it's like a month ago, I guess. Took it down.
Steam engine which sparked the Industrial Revolution of the late 1700s, the internet is changing everything it touches. And at the cutting edge of the revolution is Wall Street.
So we're now 6 3/4 points above fair value.
The early 1990s was the beginning of the tech boom. Internet startups were getting millions in investments. And they had access to vast resources and vast amounts of data, personal data. The intelligence community wanted to gather this data to create a digital fingerprint of everyone using the internet. If they could identify bad actors, criminals, terrorists, whatever, they would compare that fingerprint against others. They called this the birds of a feather approach. If Joe's a bad guy and Bob's a bad guy, and they both go to certain websites, then other people visiting those same websites were potential bad guys, so let's track them.
So, surveillance
Yes.
of Americans.
Yes.
Legal?
No. Well, officially illegal as of 2010, but the law was murky in the 1990s. And for the intelligence community, murky means opportunity.
So 20, 30 years goes by before we cause the NASDAQ, which is what George Jr. had signed in because of terrorists, to completely give pretty much just free reign for, the CIA to just know all your stuff. And if, wherever you have your bank cards put in online, and I know everybody's got a Google account, you buy stuff from Amazon. I'm not telling you nothing that most people, everybody watching this going, I know, man, just go on the video. I'm just saying, sorry.
Still, the intelligence agencies didn't have the ability to manage all this data, but they knew people were out there working on it, and they were all looking for funding. But if you're the NSA or CIA or DARPA, you can't drop by an internet startup and ask them to build you an illegal digital surveillance program.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad look.
It is, but it also gives away the game. Surveillance is only valuable if the target doesn't know they're being watched. So this technology would need to be funded privately and quietly. So in 1994, the Highlands Forum was founded.
Now, this is what I brought up, the intro of video one. This is some of the other topics here. Look more into this, and there's information. This is free domain stuff. It's not like it's top secret information. It's not readily available, but you have to dig around a little while. But it is interesting, and the people on this board and the DARPA funding all this stuff, and the NA and the NSF is kind of umbrellaing over all of it. And yeah, but there's two people that kind of come up with an idea of how this, you'll see this word here in a minute, algorithm, how the original whole thought of the algorithm, where the word even come from. Well, it's not a new word, but to be used in computers.
Ever hear of the Highlands Forum? You probably haven't, and they like it that way. The Highlands Forum, or Highlands Group, was formed as a think tank, a bridge between technology companies and the Pentagon. The Highlands Forum is an...
Now, you can pause here and look at the list a little bit longer. We can go through, and you can see some of these names of companies and whatnot on here. And I'm going to stop at a time or two when it starts going through the list, so don't get too mad at me.
Invitation-only group of government officials.
Now, I may be speaking out of turn here, but do you see anything that's that would connect these universities? Like, what do they all have in common in news now and how we follow politics and people, and where these ideas from Karl Marx, his ideas and theologies and books, and you see what I'm saying? Like, if all these places here may have some things in common, I mean, maybe I'm just looking too deep into it.
Academics and executives.
You see what I'm saying? All those places have something in common with a particular group. You see?
Is from tech and defense companies. Their discussions are private and off the
O'Reilly Media. Bill? What?
record, operating under the Chatham House rule. Meaning members can disclose information from the meetings as long as it doesn't harm anybody, but they can never reveal who said it. Not ever. Although hardly anyone knows about the Highlands Forum, the group is highly influential on U.S. defense policy, especially regarding technology. And they're a private organization. No auditing, no oversight, no Freedom of Information Act requirements. They're a black box. The perfect conduit for transactions you want to keep off the books. So tech is booming. Data is flowing, and we've got our think tank to connect us with the people capturing the data. Now we need the money to fund them. That same year, the Massive Digital Data Systems, or MDDS program, was launched. MDDS would fund scientists, researchers, and
Just see when that said. In 95.
Digital Data Systems, or MDDS program, was launched. MDDS would fund scientists, researchers, and companies who worked with big data sets. The Highlands Forum would help identify, facilitate, and coordinate these transactions. To keep these transactions private and secret, the MDDS moved money through unclassified mainstream agencies like the National Science Foundation. Computer scientists were getting millions in grants from the NSF, totally normal. They didn't know who was really behind the money. And MDDS was highly compartmentalized. It had tons of projects and departments. Nobody knew what anyone else was doing or who was even in charge. And this was by design. But the overall program was managed by the CIA, NSA, and DARPA. So we've got black budget money flowing through the NSF. And we've got our private organization, the Highlands Forum, looking for opportunities. So the word goes out to researchers in academia. If you can handle big data, we'll give you big money. Then a promising project emerged. 2 Stanford graduate students working on a search engine made a breakthrough.
Well, I wonder who that is.
In the early 90s, searching the internet was difficult. Popular engines like Alta Vista and Lycos produced hit or miss results. Searching hiking gear would show pages mentioning hiking, or
I don't remember Lycos. You don't remember that? I remember Ask Jeeves. Does anybody remember that? The little butler looking guy kind of looked like kind of the guy like from Richie Rich or something that it reminded me of. That was one. I don't remember this one.
or gear, often irrelevant blog posts or articles. Users had to scroll through pages of useless results. It took forever, and I remember it well. 2 Stanford students developed a system that changed everything. Their automated web crawling system identified a web page's context, not just the text. Then pages were ranked based on relevance to specific queries. Pages actually discussing hiking gear would rank higher for that query. High traffic pages and pages with lots of incoming links ranked even higher. These were signals to the algorithm that a page was a good match for that query. Using this search engine felt like magic. Usually the first or second result was exactly what you were looking for. Somehow it knew. The system used an optimization technique called association rule mining, or query flocks. This assumes birds of a feather stick together, meaning people searching specific keywords tended to click the same result. Query flocks worked with people too. The search engine learned that people with similar online habits search for similar things.
And that's where we get YouTube algorithm stuff. I mean, if you click on when you're looking for something and you go over there on this part of you go back over on Facebook and you've been looking at, I was looking at hats the other day. They're like just trucker style hats, got cartoon characters on them. And if you watch our sports show Sunday night, 6:00, you can watch Locker Room Sports. When I pull up the schedules, the FBS schedules for the teams, and it shows those hats, to show an advertisement over on the side, and it shows those hats. And everybody's done it. Everybody's thought about something like, I'd like to have I do need some new shoes, but I ain't bought shoes in a while. And then I promise, dude, you pick up your phone and it shows shoes. So I'm not trying to be 10 full hat guy like the little fish here, but I mean, there are microphones on your phone, right? There are microphones and there's cameras. So I don't know. I'm just saying it's weird. Okay. Don't shoot the messenger.
If you searched hiking gear, the system assumed you liked outdoor activities and were probably within a certain age group. And the more you used the search engine, the more it learned about you. So your searches always gave you relevant results. Using information you willingly provided, these students had developed a method to create your digital fingerprint. Jackpot. S funded it. If you haven't guessed by now, those two students were Sergey Brin and Larry Page.
Oh, I'll be darned. Yeah, we know who those guys are. Huh.
And the search engine was Google. You won't find MDDS in Google's origin story, but this is public, unclassified information. It's just hard to find. In Brin and Page's famous 1998 research paper, The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web...
The Anatomy of a Large-Scale Hypertextual Web Search Engine. These are the guys out at Stanford where they went to college, and this is their papers, and this is not, hard to find or anything, but in this paper we present Google, a prototype large-scale search engine which makes heavy use of structure present in hypertext. Google is designed to crawl and index the web efficiently and produce much more satisfying search results than existing systems. A prototype with a full text and hyperlink database of at least 24 million pages is available. And there's their first HTTP address, google.stanford.edu. And that's kind of where it all began at.
Search engine. They thanked DARPA for their support. You can see this for yourself. It's on page 16, section 7, under acknowledgments. Now, there's a lot more to this rabbit hole. The connection between intelligence agencies and technology companies is so...
Hang on.
What?
Pop quiz.
Go ahead.
How do you make your living?
YouTube.
And who owns YouTube?
Google.
Right. Bye-bye, channel. Now would be a good time to ask for Patreon support.
He might be right. Truly and honestly. I won't know until it's too late. But telling you the story might have been a terrible mistake. So yes, please go to patreon.com/thewhyfiles.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will.
You go their channel. It's good.
Need your help.
I enjoy their stuff.
Anyway, this video isn't about Google. It's about DARPA. Specifically, the dark side of DARPA. And it's about to get a whole lot darker.
I just wanted to do this 2-part thing here about the internet and robot stuff and the war games and how surveillance started and a little bit there on the guys that done Google. So very interesting stuff. If you like this kind of stuff, I appreciate it, man. Come back and hang out with me more through the week. And I'll have these out here pretty soon. And I'll be working on some more stuff. Another big story I'll be working on for you guys. Thank you, guys. And God bless you.